everyone, you're watching Q&A. I'm here with JoAnne and Steve answering your questions that you guys have been diligently sending in to qandegg@gmail.com. Now, I did try to send out a request on Twitter too, so please follow us all on Twitter. I'm at GearheadGirl27. Steve?
Steve_OMG.
And JoAnne?
At JoAnne Food Lover.
And Paul is at Paul Hardware. Kyle is at Forever a Kyle, and you can send your questions there as well, and we'll try to get to them on the show. But the Gmail is probably one of the more reliable ways. Anyway, let's get started. Our first question comes from LaMar, and he asks, would any of you use a WD squared hybrid drive in a desktop build? And second, if your build wattage comes to about 370 watts, would a Corsair AX760i be overkill? I like it for the look, modular functions, since I'm doing an AMD build in an Inwin 901 case. Love the shows. You guys have great chemistry. Well, thank you, LaMar. Let's start with the first question. Steve and I both have WD black squared drives. I have one in a desktop build, though, and I have to say that the biggest thing about it is that you have to set up the partitions for it manually, and you also have to set up your file paths manually to go from, instead of defaulting to C drive, to D drive. And that is a little bit inconvenient with it. What do you find?
Well, actually, I didn't use mine in a desktop build. I used it in a laptop that I use. For that, I think it works great. I think for a desktop, I think I would probably rather have discrete drives, just because you have more options with operating systems. I believe you're sort of limited with the black squared. I'd have to double check that, so maybe don't quote me on that. Beyond that, I think the additional issue of, because basically if you install any operating system on a single drive and SSD, let's say, you're still gonna have to move stuff over if it's a smaller SSD. If it's like a 256, you might be able to get away with it, but a 128, which I believe the black squared is, you're gonna get a lot more mileage out of that if you put it over to the 1 terabyte partition.
Right.
So, or and actual drive.
That said, though, it is lightning fast.
Yeah.
It is a very, very quick drive. So it has its pluses and minuses just like anything else, but you might want to investigate and also determine how inconvenienced you might be by having to constantly reassign your file path when you're saving things or when you're installing other programs.
Yeah, at least that initials.
And the next question he asked was about a power supply. And so he has a system with 370 watts and is looking at a 760 watt power supply. So what do you think?
Well, first of all, modular power supplies can be very useful because I've built several cases already, and just having non-modular power supplies really limits my options when I'm trying to route the cables. It could just be a headache, and especially if I don't need the extra cables, then it just feels like it's just not necessary. And basically, generally, I try to go for 750 or 850 watt power supplies when I build myself, so that if I want to upgrade, I won't have to swap out for another power supply. So definitely for the upgrade capabilities for like a dual card setup or
Right. What do you think, Steve?
Actually, I usually, whenever I build any system, stick to the 700 to 800 watt range, and that's typically because I just want to have upgradability and not have to worry about it in the future. Also, something Paul mentioned, because he overheard us talking about the questions, the efficiency of a power supply if you're going in the middle of its wattage. So he said he was like 360 or something like that. You're going to be able to be the most efficient, so that's great. Basically, you're just going to be the most power efficient you could possibly be, if you care about those things. Otherwise, I think the fully modular side, as JoAnne said, is really awesome when you're going to do cable management, because just having to not worry about this big wad of cable somewhere that you're going to tuck away in the case is so much more easy to deal with.
And plus, even after your build has been completed and you're like, oh my gosh, what is this cable sticking out? You can just unplug it easily and then reroute it, plug it back in. So it's just really for ease of use,
Right. Yeah. And so I guess the answer to your question, LaMar, is no, it would not be overkill.
Definitely.
All right, the next question comes from Aaron, and he says, Dear Newegg team, I've been watching since I first discovered Paul's How to Build a PC series of videos, and I love that the team is expanding and creating more content than ever. I used to watch every single video, but I can no longer keep up. But keep them coming, love it all. Thank you for your support, Aaron, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And his question comes for JoAnne. He says, in the last Q&A, you mentioned that you've done hundreds of case videos. I think I've watched them all, they're great, and I wanted to know what are some of your favorite case features, and as you are the resident expert.
Well, first of all, thank you for watching all 500 of them. I'm just kidding. But it's been a lot of videos. Basically, a lot of things that I like is, first of all, the look of it, right? I prefer more stealth-looking cases, so it doesn't just scream out at you because I want it to blend more into the background. But I also like smooth-looking cases, like maybe the 750D, any of the Corsair series where it goes for more silence. But I also like Phantom, NZXT Phantoms, because I do like their unique look, and I have the Elite 410. What I love about it are the contact fans. I love that I could just take them off without unplugging them and then just cleaning it out, but I don't think they're selling that anymore, actually. I had to replace one recently and couldn't find it. But anyway, and also I really like that side panels, easy to come off. One of the worst things when doing case videos is like, well, first I gotta look at the case, and if it takes me forever to just rip a panel off, basically, that's clearly not something I'm looking forward to, especially when I have to open and close it multiple times during the video. And also I love that I can remove hard drive cages, because obviously if I wanted more airflow, I can just take that versatility and then go with that, or if I do go with a longer graphics card. But I'd say most graphics cards are around 10 to 12 inches, so I generally think that even if the hard drive's in the way, it's not a big deal, although for airflow's sake. But what else do I like? I love that there are card readers in some of the cases, so I don't have to buy a separate USB. Well, it's not a USB, but a card reader drive thing.
Yeah, like an adapter USB.
Yeah, an
SD
adapter,
card adapter,
or just plug in from the camera, which I don't think anyone does anymore. Of course, the USB 3.0 20-pin header. I feel like all cases need to have that, and not the USB, cable that routes through the back. No. We need the 20-pin header.
Yeah.
That's horrible. And what else? There's a lot of things. Oh, I do love when cases have room at the top for water cooling, because I feel like that is one of the best places to put it, because if I do put it in the front, usually it gets either in the way of the drives or something like that, and the rear clearly not big enough.
Yeah.
But I don't want to keep rambling on, but let's see if there's anything else I might like. I like that some cases include LED fans. That's a perk. Or multiple fans, so either you can take one out if you don't like it, or you could just go with it for the airflow. But I'm going on and on and on. There's so many things, but back to you, back to the questions.
All right, so our next question comes from Renee, and he asks, why did you consider getting a job at Newegg? Is it a fun job if you are knowledgeable about technology? Thanks, guys. So, Steve, why did you consider getting a job at Newegg?
It was in California, and it's where I wanted to be, as well as working with a team that I knew was really cool. So I had the opportunity to work with Paul, Mr. Lamb, and Kyle prior to ever actually working at Newegg. So I knew working with them was something I wanted to do, and now having the opportunity to have done that now for almost a year, it's been awesome. I really enjoyed it. I think it was the right decision for me. I think anybody in the industry who's talking to others about tech, you're going to see that you don't know everything, and I'm constantly learning here, and I love that.
I remember when you first got the job, you were super nervous before you even left New York. You were so nervous about he was like, I have to study now, I have to cram, there's so many things I don't know, they're gonna ask me if this and that and the other thing. I was just like, Steve, just be yourself, calm down.
Yeah, no.
And then I came in, and then you offered this opportunity to me, and I came in not knowing anything at all, and I can say that this job
is with me when I first started.
Yeah, this job is a lot more fun now, right? Yeah. That you have some knowledge, and that's the way I feel about it. Is that
definitely, because you need the basic building blocks.
The first 3 months were trial by fire, and our viewers did not let me have an inch. So
yeah, you could call it, what is it, tough learning, whatever.
Tough love?
Tough love, there we go.
Tough love?
Yeah.
No, there was no love. It was all tough. Some people were like, give her a break, she's just learning. And it was like...
It's called the burn-in phase.
Yeah, Paul calls it the burn-in phase.
Good one, Paul.
Very accurate.
But I feel like it was kind of... I used to tell people would ask me, so how do you feel about your job at Newegg? I was like, well, have you ever been really bad at something? Good, make a video of it and put it on YouTube.
Okay.
But I have to admit, it's been a really fun journey. Anytime we get some like new product, new technology, it's
Right.
really fun to actually dig into it. It might be frustrating at first, but then, once you learn it, you know it, right? And then you
Yeah.
build on top of that, and it just feels good to feel accomplished, I guess,
Yeah.
Yeah,
from
exactly.
learning that. Yeah.
All right, well, I think that wraps up our episode of Q and Egg for this week. Thank you for joining us. As usual, keep your questions coming into qandegg@gmail.com or on any of our Twitter accounts.
Hashtag Q&A, right?
Hashtag Q and Egg on Twitter.
Yeah.
If you want to post those. And also, we've got some more content coming at you this week. We'll have another episode of Yolk'd for you tomorrow, as well as the live stream on Friday. And if you're not watching the live stream, you really should try to tune in. It's at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, twitch.tv/Newegg or Newegg TV. We have a redirect that will bring you to our site. And I
Fantastic.
want to thank Steve and JoAnne for joining me today, and all of you. Have a good day.
We love you.
Bye. Cheers.